Hey everybody, it's on screen, off screen, back with another week. Josh, why don't you kick it off? Our topics are they
It's a
completely shared
shared
this
topic.
time? Shared topics completely this time. So we'll start with Liza P. What did you
Oh, wow.
think?
This is just shared topic. I didn't realize.
Yeah, completely
You
shared
also
topics.
watched this show?
I did.
Did you watch it because of what I watched?
No, I watched it because it looked interesting.
Okay. Well, let's start with that one because we're
Okay.
we're talking about it. The Life List. This is a newish Netflix movie. The same basic premise as Ultimate Gift. Uh, basically, a certain individual is kind of entitled little shithole, and their parental figure passes away, and in order to get their inheritance, they have to complete a series of tasks, ultimately better for their lives. Um, and the ultimate gift is his grandpa, and he has to learn the value of money, and learn the value of giving. Wisely. Um, in the life list, it is a daughter and mother. The mother passes away. Uh, the daughter has to complete a series of tasks to get her in. Um, so the things I wanted to bring up here is uh, the ultimate gift is 30% tomato meter, 84% audience score, 7.3 on IM with generally positive. Uh, the reaction to the life list is generally negative. So I discovered this on TikTok, and I pulled it up because it sounded kind of like the ultimate gift, and I love it. Um, and the comments on the clip of it was, "This mom is so evil. This is so manipulative. She's doing it's just wrong. Whatever." And this show has not as good reviews. It has a 47% year, 72% audience score, 7 out of 10, and this movie is better than The Ultimate Gift in every single way.
Really? Every
Every
way.
single. There is nothing about The Ultimate Gift that I would say is better, other than maybe like casting. It has like bigger named actors, but I don't think that they do a better. Um, but it's better in every single way. The relationship is more personal, the mother daughter rather than grandpa grandson. Uh, the outcome of the movie is so much better because in the ultimate gift, he ends up getting his inheritance of $100 million, and he gives it all away. And because he gives it all away, his real inheritance turns into every. He gets the entire whole of it. And the reason I don't like that is because the grandpa had other children, other grandchildren. So basically, because this one guy turned his life around better, the rest of them get screwed out of everything, and they get nothing now. I don't love that. But it's a mother daughter. The They're close to begin with. In the ultimate gift, they were like this. The grandpa's whole thing was like, I failed because I wasn't really present. You turned into this entitled little a hole because all I ever did was give you money. Um, but it's like it was this good relationship, this good person of the mother, and a good person who's the daughter, and they do a very good job of establishing that like neither of these people are perfect. Um, the mother has spent the first little third of the movie is basically like the perfect mom, the perfect person, everybody loves her. Just and then they're like, yeah, but she's made mistakes, you know. So I was a big fan of that. And uh, while there's this like overplayed, she doesn't know what she's doing, this list four thing. Um, it's very obvious what her inheritance will be
Yeah.
based on the fact that they're like, can't sell the house till New Year's. Oh, by the way, you have to do your list by New Year's.
By New
Like, we're
Year's.
not going to tell you inheritance. Um, so it was like, okay, basic math, tell you problems. And in the ultimate gift, the list of things is like conjured by the grandpa. He's like, okay, so my grandson is entitled. He's never worked a day in his life. So the first task is he has to learn the value of work. So he has to go work on a farm for a month, right? And okay, but in the life list, it's a list of things she wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, it's literally
So
her list.
her list, is the driving force. And while I wish I could have seen more of her doing the list
Me too.
and the reaction, it's the same premise of like they each get more videos as they accomplish tasks. Um, but it's very well established in the life list that like there's individual specified videos for each thing, whereas in the ultimate gift he has to follow a progression. So as soon as he learns the value of work, then he has to learn the value of money. Then he has to learn the right, so he has to go through progression. Whereas this one, any order she wants, and as soon as she gets a tattoo, she gets a tattoo. And as soon as she learns the piano, she gets the piano. She does this, she gets that.
They come.
Yeah. So it's so much more better. It feels way more personal between the two characters. It makes it like the mom took the actual effort, these individual responses to her reactions. The mom's writing is way more effective, kind of showing that like she knew her daughter so well, she knew how she was responding. So even though her character had passed away, it felt way more like worthwhile for her to accomplish the goals to see the videos rather than to get to see the inheritance. Um,
Good point.
in the ultimate gift, he has a task to get something good and like show gratitude from the other families, right? And so he's like, "Hey, it's Thanksgiving, so we're all gonna go around and say one more," which the family doesn't do, and it kind of just glazes over that fact and moves on to the next thing. And I'm like, he didn't accomplish that. He just didn't do it. He didn't get them to be grateful. He didn't get them to, it, it just skips over it. Um, so there's that. The other thing I really like about the life list is the romantic relationships because she basically goes through three romantic relationships where she's like, I don't really believe in myself. I'm not really confident, so I'm going with the and then she goes on to another relationship that's like this doctor dude, and she's like trying to figure herself out, but she's like having confidence. And what I love about it is the guy is great. He's a good guy. It's not like the traditional. Well, now she's going to be with this terrible guy. She's going to be in this terrible situation, and she's going to be trying to force it so she can check off the find true love box.
That was the thing I appreciated from the movie the most, is even the guy at the beginning who's kind of the loser guy that plays video games. He's not the stereotypical loser guy that plays video games. At the end, her boyfriend is like, he's the one who made that game. That's so cool. That's awesome. He did that. Like he actually accomplishes something. He creates a company. He has some kind of success instead of just being a loser that was part of her past. I appreciated that so much.
Yeah. Well, both of the exes in this situation are just guys who are good, did
Who just
not
didn't
fit the
work.
bill. Yeah. Who just
Yeah.
it wasn't compatible, right? Like she had different aspirations than playing video games or testing video testing.
It, it just didn't mend. It's a lot more emotionally mature
Yeah,
than
absolutely. And
most of
then
these
the
romance
the
movies are.
doctor guy, right? Like I think the doctor guy is completely justified in calling her friends trash because her friends show up unannounced, treat everyone like crap, especially him,
Yeah.
and for him to be like, I don't want to spend time with people, and her just to like uh wave him off like it's nothing, and like, oh, they're just that's just how they are. Like how they are sucks.
Yep. They're
What her
just
friend did
how they're
about
people.
the find true love listing is terrible.
I agree completely.
And he's completely justified in that. And then they don't even break up. Now the one thing I don't like is the cheating part.
Me too, because
Because
you have the emotional maturity of every other relationship, and instead of him just saying, "You know what? We broke up because of you, and I like you," which wouldn't have been that hard to do, they had to go into the drama aspects and make it kind of dumb.
well, they both cheated, right? Her and the
No,
doctor weren't broken up at that.
but he was broken up with her. They broke up on that trip, like before the cheating
Yes,
happened,
but
which
she didn't
he could
know.
have.
He didn't know he wasn't cheating, so she cheated, right? In
Yeah,
this kind of
yeah.
like, well, we were both cheating, so but then he wasn't. And I did like
I didn't either.
before the trip happened. Her and the doctor should have had a breakup conversation, and after the model and lawyer broke up, they should have had a conversation, and they should have bonded over this mutual heartbreak.
Yeah, that would have been better.
It, but other than that, this is so much better of a it like I said, every single the ultimate gift is like a once every 10 years kind of movie for me. I've seen it 3 times in my life. I'm almost 30. Um, this is gonna be way more frequent on the show. I absolutely love this movie. It's and the reaction being negative is just terrible because I think it's why it's being teared down. The rating.
I agree that it's stupid that it's lower rated because it's just a good movie. I was impressed with it. I was really impressed with Sophia Carson. I've seen her in other things, and she's always seemed kind of fine to me. I think she's really good in this movie. And I don't understand the complaint of the mom being terrible. Is it terrible to have to like earn something? Is earning things bad? And a mom who,
Okay, so really quick, I do think it's
yeah,
the criticism that it's manipulative is kind of fair because it's inheritance for one thing, and for another, nobody else,
the
right?
nobody else having to do it is kind of fair.
She didn't say everybody has to work for this. She even gave an in-law the inheritance that the daughter thought she would, right? So there is some inequality, right? And they do bring it up in the movie, which I do appreciate. There's the whole scene of like the brothers like, we might have been closer with dad. Like you had this bond with mom, we never had. And what's it like to have those videos? Like get that, get the videos even, and still, do that. And they watch the videos together. And then there's also the scene where um the daughter is being all entitled bitchy, and the sister-in-law comes up to her and says like, what is, the daughter's like, what are they even going, I'm having to do all this kind of stuff, and like their mom died too, they miss her too. And the daughter goes, oh crap, I have been making this all up. And that's another thing that I love about this movie is like in the ultimate gift they don't bring that up. In the ultimate gift, just to go back to the relationships thing, it's never really clear whether or not he's using the romantic partner for his end goal, rather than in this movie where they seem like genuine relationships. But go ahead.
I I like that aspect of the movie too, and I like that the mom put the implication, put the clause of like you might not fall in love in a year, this was a goal, but it's okay if that doesn't happen. The In my opinion, like, if my parents wanna give me something when they die, they can, but it's their stuff, and if they don't wanna give it to me, oh well. If they wanna make me run through hoops and my sister's not, that's kinda their choice. So, I don't see that as manipulative or a bad thing because it's their money, they're the one that worked for it. Like, if I'm getting a free gift of a house or whatever it is, that is fantastic. I am so grateful that they gave me that. I just and if they think have things that are required to be able to get that, I can choose not to do the requirements. I can choose to do the requirements. They're still giving me a whole lot to not have to do very much or just to better my life. I don't think
I
that's a
agree with that
bad
point,
manipulative thing.
right? I that like you should just be grateful. I agree not to be entitled to it. The entitlement
Yeah,
thing, absolutely fair. The part that I disagree with is, let's say, your parents said, "Hey, Conlon, we've got this big property out Lakeview. We're gonna give your sisters their share. They don't have to do anything. And Conlon, you have to change everything about the way you're."
I can say no. Like, does that suck?
I know
Yeah,
you
definitely.
can say
But I
no,
can say
but I
no.
I
Would it
still think
feel
it's not
crappy?
right to say, "Conlon, you have to change everything," but sisters, you don't have to do it, right? Like, I'm saying my point is,
Mm,
they're your children. If your deathbed wish is that they learn life lessons you just haven't quite figured out yet, there's no way that you, Conlon, are the only person who has life lessons.
well, there could be like, I'll take uh, my dad's family. My uncle and my aunt have a lot of struggles, more than the rest of the family. And if it was required for my uncle in particular to do some things with his life to get the inheritance, which it wasn't, I actually think it would have been good for my uncle in particular
Yeah,
over other people because the inheritance mattered a lot to him. And my grandpa just kind of split the inheritance between everybody. He tried to do it the fair way, didn't want his kids to fight, which I also understand. But if my grandpa actually did this and he had a decent amount of wealth when he died, if he would have actually done this, I think it would have been good for that one uncle to literally be treated differently. I think it would have helped him.
I agree, right? But again, my point is they all gotta work for it, because, like, straight up, either the person who has to work for it is the favorite and everybody else is gonna feel like crap and it's gonna cause severe trauma, right? If my parents died and they were like, "Hey, every other child gets theirs fair square, but Josh, you have to change everything about your life." Depression is gonna be screaming at me the whole time that, like, not only do I feel like I've been a failure my entire life, everybody else in my family has.
But what if the parents don't think the other kids really need to change that much? Like they're doing good, but you have this one kid who honestly is kind of screwing up and really does need to change some things.
But nobody's perfect. Everybody needs personal. If it's imbalanced, right? Right.
You'd be
Let's take
fine if it's imbalanced, like it's harder
Yeah,
for the one person.
yeah. It shows me that, like, okay, they took the time to individualize it, right? So I have my
Mhm.
oldest brother. He's the perfect child. He's the perfect job. He has the perfect wife. He has the perfect kids, right? Like, I get it. He's a lot closer to that perfection line that we're all striving for than I am. I'm okay with that. I accept that. So for me to have harder things or more things that make sense. But for a parent to go out and be like, "You don't have to do anything. You're already great. You don't have to. You're already great. You have to change everything about your life," I think is across that moral line of bad,
Okay.
right? Because it's delusional to say some person has to work for it or to has work to do and others don't. because nobody's perfect. We all have issues. We all go through crappy things, and we all need to strive to do better. Some, right?
And yeah, no,
So like I said, like if it's
I'm o-
imbalanced, hey, Conlon, you gotta do this, and Sister A, you have to do that, and Sister B, you have to do that. And Conlon goes, I have more things on my list to do, or my list is way harder. I have to change like fundamental things about myself, and you kind of just have to tweak something. Fine, absolutely, like that makes sense. It shows you love your kids, you know your all of your kids intimately, right? And you're saying, I don't want to just give you something. You're not entitled to anything. I 100% agree. Don't be entitled. But I think it's like ethically, it's wrong to say person A for the same thing you have to work for it. Person B don't. And emotionally, I think it's manipulative and kind of to
okay, I can see your point of view. I can get it. I think with the different levels, it's that's fair. That's fair because it would feel Sophia's character. It would feel bad to be the only person that has to do anything, and your sister-in-law, somebody who's not even the kid, just received millions and millions of dollars. But it would be hard not to feel unfair either way, to be completely honest, because she's expecting to receive this company that is a very, very successful company, and she gets a house. Those aren't very even. I thought about that towards the end. Go ahead.
uh first things first, the house is worth way more than that business is. They're
I
in like
never,
New York or something. Like that house is easily worth $1 million.
isn't this a pretty successful company? I bet it's worth more. Like if you
It's
can afford the
fairly
house,
successful,
you
but it's
probably
like
have a
a
pretty successful business.
it's not like massively successful. Like you talk about millions. My guess is worth like a million. You know, there is a difference because a business makes money, right? So like
Yeah.
over time, the business is worth more. But like status wise of how things actually are, the sister in law doesn't outright own the company. The kids all still own their share of the company. The sister in law just inherits running the company. So like if the house is sold, kid get 200K. And if the business is sold, each kid gets 250, right? And second point is it's not fair of outcome, it's fair of that's the goal. Is we're talking about fairness other direction, not fairness of outcome.
Fair enough. I do think the business would be worth more because I don't think you afford the house without the business that can afford the house. But
But the business is a shop where they sell products. And while those can be pretty successful, they're not like buco millions of dollars. Like you already have to suspend your disbelief that they have a marketing person.
I mean, it depends. There are some beauty brands that make massive, massive amounts of money, like massive
Yes,
amounts of
but
money.
they tend to be on the manufacturing side, not sales side.
Is this just a distributor? Is that what the business was just a
Yeah.
warehouse distributor? Okay.
No, it's not a warehouse. It's a physical shop, like at a mall.
Okay.
Like you have to go in. They have beauty products from all the different companies. It's like a Bed Bath and
Okay.
Beyond,
This is
and
so,
people come in to
Sophia
buy
kind of a
stuff.
deal.
Yeah, but like
Okay.
on a small scale.
Small scale. This isn't a on malls all over the country
Yeah,
type of a
this is like
place.
has one.
Okay, that's a different story. That's smaller.
Yeah.
That's smaller for sure. Um, overall, I thought this was a good movie. I think it's good. It's one that I was surprised by, and I'll watch it again too.
So, where would you rate this movie on a scale of 1?
like a 7.5. Good solid movie. What about you?
8, just slightly
8?
above.
Okay.
Yeah, because I can say, "Hey, this is regular gonna be in my watch rotation," and I already recommend The Ultimate Gift. I still would recommend The Ultimate Gift. It's still the same sort of wholesome, like, better your life kind of movie.
And
I
both
will
are worth
also
watching, even when
Yeah,
this one is just a better version of that?
there are a few things the other one does better. So, Ultimate Gift, there's this little girl who got cancer. Basically, her grace to the guy is what changes him, not
Mm.
desire for it, isn't right. So, of that one, it's a little bit where there's this third party, and ultimate gift is this little girl's grace. So, like, it still has things about it that is different and is still great. Still say, hey, you should watch that movie. There's like three of them: Ultimate Life and something or other. Those ones absolute garbage. They suck. They're not worth watching at all. But the Ultimate Gift is still
What would you rate The Ultimate Gift?
7.5.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
There are absolutely things about it I don't like. There's a few things about this, but like at the end of the day, they're just wholesome. They're so positive for you. They're so good. Like both of these movies, you walk out of it and you're like, hey, I need to make my life better. I need to do
Yeah.
better. I need to start doing those things. And like, where did I want to be when I was 13? And am I measuring? No, okay, but it's not like a negative, like, oh, I don't even live up to what I wanted to be when I was 13. You go out of it and you're like, man, I should start working on those things. I should start doing like that would be really good for me. It's just positive.
Yeah, this literally made Sid bring out a journal from when she was in college about how she wanted her life to be like and read it and refocus her life. Like, it literally made a difference for her.
Yeah. These are
Good
both
movie.
like I would follow it up like this Golda Conlon and said, watch The Ultimate Gift and just enjoy it. Don't go into it with like, oh, this is the same movie but worse. It's its own thing. It's older. It's got some issues for sure, but like it's still just watch it.
And
Just
it
like
has what's her name? Abigail Breslin in it. And I think she's great.
and it has
Yeah.
the old guy from what is that show? Simple Rules. That-
Simple. Oh, it does? Oh, cool.
8 Simple Rules. Yeah, 8 Simple Rules.
Yeah.
The grandfather. Uh, I genuinely like both of these. Yes, I think one is better than the other. A more watch for me, but they're both still watch. If listeners have not watched either of these movies, watch it. Watch both. Like
Time.
they're worth your time. They make you feel good. Who doesn't want to feel good? Watch.
Everybody does. All right. With that, we'll move on to something that's a little bit different. Lies of P
Little bit.
again.
Just a little bit.
Just a little different. I suck at this game, but basically what I said last week, I still believe. Um, I think your dark comment is pretty fair, but mostly I think mechanically this is probably the best one. I suck so bad and I'm still stuck on that same boss. I restarted my whole playthrough and replayed up to that boss to try to get better. And I am still stuck on this stupid boss. I have Orphan of Kos is the only other boss that's ever made me this stuck ever. I'm so stuck on this stupid boss. I've watched tutorial videos. I don't get why I suck so bad. It pisses me off, but I think the game is excellent.
Okay.
Okay, what did you think? You beat the whole thing. Josh beat the whole thing while I've been stuck on one boss. As
I
stupid as
did.
that.
I put more hours in.
You have.
Like I had a straight days off where I take back my dark.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I beat the game, and I have been absolutely elated about. Like there's like the post credit scene has got me so excited. Um, and so I went into this deep dive about like lore of this game, the mechanics of this game, XYZ. So my new criticism is actually an old criticism of
Okay.
the game. So the first one I'll bring up is you're stuck on this boss, and it was brought up to me in a review video about Liza about like the camera position,
That's a good
right? So
point.
it was
Very
drawn
good.
out. I believe it was Asmongold who did it. That was basically like, so when you're fighting the cleric like you are right now, you see your character and he's this big, and the actual enemy is this big, and the screen is this. So while the he is moving this way, you're not gonna see it. You can't see it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that is a fair criticism of it.
That's the only reason
Basically,
I struggled with the fire guy at all was because of
yeah,
that.
yeah. Um, it's a fair criticism, absolutely. It does make it harder, and it doesn't feel fair because in like Dark Souls and stuff, you lose because you did something wrong. This one, you basically have to lose in order to learn the entire movement set in order to move forward, right? Fair criticisms. The
That is
next
fair.
one is the animations of the enemies, particularly the cleric and the one of the ending bosses, depending on which ending you choose. Um, that he has two moves. One is to set his thing on his shoulder, which is a good time to attack him, get some damage. And the other one is a down slam that does massive damage. And the ability to tell which move he's doing is impossible because the first part of the animation is the exact same. Exactly. So me as a player, I get to attack and then get slammed or not attack and miss it. So it doesn't feel fair. Whereas in like Dark Souls and stuff, they do a lot better job of telegraphing the boss
What
fights.
going to happen? Okay.
Um, so that is also a fair complaint about the game, and my biggest because that boss with the armrest, it's basically the only time to hit it. Because the other criticism about Lies of P is that these bosses, because their animations chain together so well, can go on like 5 to 10 hit chain. There's the like robot thing that does the smacking thing.
Yeah.
Like if you get downed by that,
You're screwed.
you
They
can
killed you.
just get yeah, it'll just smack you and smack you and smack you and smack you. Like it can do that for time. I don't think that that's a fair complaint anymore. This review came out when the game had just come out, and at that time, you weren't allowed to roll out of damage and out of stuns. Now it's just innate. You get that off.
Mhm.
So I don't think that's really a fair complaint anymore because you still get your chance to do damage. You just have to be patient when you do damage, which I think is like a good thing in these kinds of games where the whole thing is aggressive, but now it's aggressive when it's time to be aggressive and be patient the rest of the time. I think that's how I play these games. That's how I play Bloodborne, right? Go in and be aggressive all the time, you should be punished.
Yeah. Sometimes
Uh,
you have to step away, dodge, wait for the attack, then attack.
yeah, that's so. I don't think that's a fair part of it. The fair part of the complaint for me is that the animations are so similar, if not exactly the same, that it doesn't give me a chance to play it fairly.
Can't even learn because there's no difference.
Yeah. So like putting it on his shoulder, putting it on his shoulder, and then slamming. Like it, you just basically have to play that fight with. I'm just gonna have to take that hit and heal when he's doing other things, and hope I can get through and do enough damage enough efficiently enough and in enough time that I run out of heal because I'm just take. I
Uh,
don't love that. So my initial reaction to beating this game was a reaction surprising to even myself of, is this game better than? And as I sat on it, it has cooled off, and I'm like, okay, no, it's not better than. For me, however, this game is still top 5 game of.
That is fantastic, man. I love to hear that. That's really cool. That's really cool.
Uh, you brought it up in last time we talked about Liza P. This is a much more intriguing and telegraphed story.
Yeah.
And if I were to play this game just kind of cold, I would have been like, hey, that's a cool story. But the fact that I get the reward of being a Souls fan and reading and getting into the lore and doing so pays off massively, like massive. So you are about to, your next section is the Opera House. And there is a storyline there between two sisters, which is fantastic.
Really cool.
And if I were to play it cold, I would have gotten this much of the story. But because I got into descriptions, I got this much story. And is this much story a solid story that you're like, oh, hey, that was cool? Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And that
That's
is
all.
amazing about this. It's like, hey, you could do it and you won't feel like you're missing out on anything. But if you do that little extra work, it turns into something awesome. It turns into something.
It just
My
adds a
next
lot.
glowing thing about this
Yeah.
game, the sound.
That's great.
So this game has done something for me that I have never done before.
What?
Taken a song from it and added it to my regular playlist.
You haven't done that for Halo or
Nope,
anything?
I have like a games playlist. So like the sea shanties from
Oh,
Assassin's Creed 4, that's on my like games.
okay.
But the song Feel made it into my regular playlist, as in I will turn this on and listen to it anytime.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
The soundtrack to this game is so great. I cannot comprehend it. And here's why I can't comprehend it. The game developer for this made how many games before this one?
I think this is their only. I thought this was their first game. No? Okay.
Oh,
I have no idea.
okay. If you didn't know that though, how many games it took?
I would have guessed this was like their third or fourth, is honestly what I would have assumed.
Okay. They have made one game before.
That's really cool.
This is basically their first attempt. And their other game was a garbage MMORPG that nobody played. So
Okay.
like this is their first Souls attempt. And to get it this right is
It's crazy.
fantastic. It is insane. I honestly like I kind of thought the same thing you did. I thought this was a game. Um, but if I were to have guessed, I would have guessed this was like 10. Right? Most game developers nowadays that come out of this kind of shadows are like they build 5 mobile games before they like a full production, and their full production game is garbage. And then they kind of figure some things out, do like 2 or 3 other smaller games before they do a big budget. But like the marketing behind this game made it feel triple. Like we knew about this game years ahead of it coming out. We're so excited for it. We both started playing the demo like the first week that we could play the demo. Um, so everything about this was like big developer, big. Even the publisher isn't big. So it just goes to say like how good the quality of this game is to have brought in this. Now I do think it's assisted because of the IP
The IP, and they did,
being Pinocchio.
yeah, smart marketing. It's just a really good starter video. Their trailer video was really good when they first came out. Like it really popped off. They did a lot of smart things with the way that they presented this game. A lot.
Yeah, yeah,
And people really wanted a Bloodborne 2, and it fit into that really well.
absolutely. So, uh, let's talk about that Bloodborne. My last video, I was like, I wish it was darker, but that was me wanting Bloodborne 2. After sitting with it, I realized this is not Bloodborne 2. It's not the same theme. It's not Victorian horror. This is steam.
That's true.
It doesn't need to be darker. It is. It is its own.
I think
I
having
need to
some
get rid
parts
of.
that were dark would actually it would be better. Like, there's parts where it should be darker than it is. I think it's actually a fair point.
Yeah, but that's true of
That's true. That's
any
true.
game that gives you some sort of like lighting source. It usually should be darker than it actually is, but I don't think it detracts from like. Would it be better if this certain section was darker and the lamp was actually useful here and give it some more interesting? Absolutely, but I don't think it detracts from it. Not anymore. It's how it is. It's steampunk, not horror. It is steampunk. Um, so me disassociating it in that way and saying not Bloodborne 2 was huge. Like I love it for what it is. I do prefer the horror, Victorian horror theme more. That is more in line with Steam or Cyber things. It's not as big for me personally, but having it be its own. Now here's like in comparing it to Souls and like Bloodborne, here's the thing that I cannot give it enough credit for. What is your least favorite area in Bloodborne?
Um, I honestly don't know. What is my least favorite area
For
in
a lot
Bloodborne?
of people, it's the um, swamp, poison swamp area in basically all of the FromSoft games. And they love like Miyazaki love.
Yes, it does.
Okay, this has it still, um, but it does it better
It does it
than
much better.
any of the. You haven't got it. Does it better.
What? I thought, oh,
It does it
I
better.
was
It's its
thinking of that
whole
swampy
area.
area right
No,
before the flame guy. That's not what we're talking about. It's a different swamp.
different
Okay.
swamp. It's a whole big area. So here's why it does it better. In FromSoft, you basically have to decide I'm going to get poisoned. I need to build up all of my resistances and basically gut my character of its biggest strengths while fighting the toughest enemies while it does this. In Lies of P, there's enough of a area that if you are skilled enough, you can stand on without getting poisoned. So in Bloodborne, basically, okay, I'm going to put on all my poison resistant thing. I'm going to equip my poison cure. I'm going to do this while I'm trying to fight. In this one, it's like can stand on this island. But if you screw up for a second, you're gonna get knocked off it, and you're gonna pay twice the bad because you don't have that resistance. And I absolutely love that. I think that was a phenomenal decision because it lets you continue to build and make with just this mentality of if I do it well enough, I can do it faster and better. I'm just constricted by I have to be on this little island. Well, the big things are able to move wherever. So it makes like that section of game better. Just
Cool.
outright. Are you okay if I talk about
Yeah, absolutely. Good.
plot
Good.
story?
Okay.
Spoiler warning.
I've had some stuff spoiled by looking up bosses. It's okay.
Post credit scene though.
No, but you're good. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I won't say everything.
Okay.
Here's what I'll say. There's a character turns out to be not who you think it is, and the post credit scene centers around this. And this character is on a train talking about the events with someone, and basically implies that Pinocchio, was person A, exhibit A, and then says, I will go back and I will find exhibit Doris. And then who you see just walk into scene in front of Rot? It is ruby shoe-laced Dorothy. Clips her heels as the character says, I will find.
That's cool.
I was like, oh my goodness gracious, I'm so excited to see what this is all about. Because holy crap, they did Pinocchio. Now I'm gonna be Dorothy in Oz, freaking wrecking munchkins, um, doing all this like holy freaking
That's cool.
astounding. I am so hyped for this. I got like literal chills when it happened. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, what even is this? They're building a bigger universe. They're doing all of these things. Like, my mind started to race of like, there's clearly a crossover between Pinocchio and Oz. So if the first game is say Liza and the second one is like Oz and Dorothy, what if the third one was like Mickey Mouse? The fourth one was like Final Fantasy. The fifth, and they just like continue to connect this and basically these great Souls likes with these themes we already know and love, and they're all interconnected by this greater story and done well. It is was done well story wise. I'm so into this. Now, cooled down a little bit on that thought process. Um, but looking into it, there is a job post or was a job posting on an open world game for the company. And they have come out and stated that the DLC for Liza will not talk about Dorothy and will not take place after Liza. It will take place about chapter 5 or 6.
Okay.
So there is a theory that Dorothy game is going to be Elden Ring open world inspired.
That would be so cool with Oz and everything we know about Oz and like how built up that is and how they could twist it. That would be so cool.
Yeah, my only thing is like, man, I wish this was more in development because what if they announced Dorothy game with a gameplay trailer on the same day than Wicked Part.
That would be amazing. I just think it'd be really cool if you earned it playing the DLC.
Yep.
Has anyone ever done that?
Well, get like instant.
No, like you win the DLC and it gets released and then someone spreads it all over the internet. That would be awesome.
I'm sure, or I don't know. I'm sure. Or
If the DLC is like it's just a banger, smashes out of the park, does that make it possible to overtake Bloodborne? No, okay.
I think criticism of the animation is so fair.
It
Um,
is. It's fair.
that it drags it down quite a bit. And when you look at Bloodborne, where you're like, I like the theme better, I like the gameplay a little bit better. If Bloodborne implemented the same supplies as it does, where like you get one blood vial that you charge up,
That's a huge bonus.
right? Like you can be like, oh, perfect, perfect. That's not something I wanted before. But if I had that in Bloodborne, that would be amazing. And you would have this mentality of no fight is actually over till it's over, which is, a fair criticism. But like that, so DLC is probably gonna be good. I don't have any doubts. Um, I've only played one other game before, and one game is Lies of Fantastic, so I've got nothing to base on. History of they've got this, or they've presented that they have this like grander idea, which to me is like if they have like this grander and like they're going according to plan, I love that. One of my favorite things How I Met Your Mother is there's this greater picture, and even when the fans hated it, they're like, "This is our ending." I very much respect, and so far they've presented that, and they're addressing that in all of their news things. They said it's not going to address the ending credit scene taking place this time during the game. Gonna talk about how we're gonna address some issues in it. Gonna enter weapons and stuff, just like any Souls DLC, right? So I don't have any reason to criticize that or tell you it's not, but I still have like when they originally got their criticism, they said, "Okay, you guys are right. The rolling out of damage thing should not be a great you can get waiting. You should just have that from the beginning." But rather than address the animations of the game, which would be a difficult fair, they basically said we're gonna weaken enemies and make them strong. The problem wasn't that you weren't strong enough and that they were too strong. The problem was the animations themselves missed and the bosses. So that's the big criticism, and it is a fair one. And like
Down some
speaking from
from
somebody who has done the fight arm shoulder thing, when you get there, you'll see exactly what it's like. It'll be particularly like, oh yeah, this feels unfair. This is not a fun fight. This is a suck.
was that the one that you said was the second hardest boss that you've ever fought? No, okay, different boss.
Uh, this one, so this boss that we were talking about, the shoulder thing, that one is like unfair. So I don't
Okay,
credit being difficult
okay.
because it feels the difficult one, which I said the boss is is fair.
Fair and difficult. Okay. If you hadn't have already beaten Orphan, would this have been like If you had beaten this one first, would this be the hardest boss that you ever fought? Okay. Orphan is just harder.
Orphan is just plain and simple. Orphan is on a whole level of hard where you've played Orphan. You feel like any part of it is untelegraphed or unfair.
No, it is completely fair and it is just ridiculously difficult.
Yeah, it's just like I just have to get, and
Yeah.
it is just so unbelievably challenging.
And it's amazing that you're already so deep in the game and you're already as good as you are, and it requires you to just get to a different level.
Yeah. Um, so that Orphan is just this one is like, and I died 20 times, and I do need to get better, and it is really difficult. But it's not like I have to achieve level of like that boss is still for the shoulders.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
That boss is third or fourth to last boss.
Of the game. Um, so with Lies, how would you rate this game?
9.5 out top top 5 game of all.
And
Let
Blood
me
is
change.
Bloodborne a perfect 10 out of 10 for you? Okay.
I do
That's
agree
awesome,
that
man.
like I think the only thing that would get better is recharge one vial, not all 20, just one. You feel like extra reason to be aggressive and kind of fight for that one extra vial. But like my great top 10 of all time was original Bloodborne, Ghost of Tsushima, and I probably use. I would probably put this contention right about 3, possibly beating it. I actually have to think about it. KOTOR is more replayable. This one is the Souls dark, cool, and has better mechanics, gameplay, and newer. So I'd really have to argue, but it's possibly better than KOTOR in my mind.
I I'm glad you had that good of experience with it. I like that this one requires you to parry and just get in front of the boss and just face it. Just be there. Where with Bloodborne, as great as I do think it is, I would kite around those bosses all day long. And I never really just had to like stand in front of the boss and tell that boss to go to hell, which is part of what I'm struggling with the boss that I'm stuck on.
Well, you probably have gotten Bloodborne faster.
What was that?
Probably have gotten through Bloodborne faster.
That's true.
Because if you had learned to parry in Bloodborne, it makes like a game.
It does. It does. For sure. I did a New Game Plus playthrough of the entire thing. And it makes it way easier when you know how to do that. But I didn't have to at all except for Maria. Literally never had to do it. Um
Parry. Father, that's going.
this one, like if you don't parry, I maybe you could. I don't think you can do it. I don't think you could beat this game without parrying. You think you could?
I know you.
You weren't parrying at all?
Not my first playthrough.
Even like a perfect block? You have to perfect block.
In my first playthrough, where I got through till just after where you're that huge clown. That's where
Yeah,
I
I've heard
got
he
to my
sucks.
first. That's where I got to with just,
Wow.
and I do believe that after I've gotten past him, I could get past him now with just.
I want you to do that because I've seen videos of that clown fight And it seems like it'd be freaking impossible without perfect blocking. But I'll get there eventually after I beat this stupid boss. Well, that is Lies of P. Obviously, me and Josh both love it. It is a high recommend for both of us, even though I suck and I'm working through it, but I still think it's a great game. Let's go to our last one, Adolescence. I really enjoyed this, and I was very interested in what you thought about it. Josh worked at a boys' home for a little while, and the main kid is accused of murder. Spoilers, you find out that he did actually kill the person he's accused of killing. And the second half of the show, which I found way more interesting, he has a scene where he's talking to a therapist. And I thought the dialogue for talking to the therapist was brilliant. Like, I thought it was great. Very, very well written, very well done. And then the last episode, you have the family who and dad who's asking, was I a bad father? Did I fail my son? And the dad does such a good job of acting pain. It is very, very well done. From your point of view, being involved in troubled teenage boys for a decent amount of time, how did you think that therapy scene was? What did you think about the concept in general?
So we'll talk about start with the therapy scene. Was 90% really.
Okay.
The dialogue is very good. The kids' portrayal is very accurate, as many boys go through a very similar set of emotions. Um, the only flaw I found in that is when the boy throws a tantrum, she should have left.
Okay.
Uh, because establishing boundaries is a very important thing for that young. And if you don't hold those boundaries, it's not fair. Basically, she told him he actually has all the control, and it wasn't a good. So she should have left. So, but other than that, really. So if she had left to come back and continue conversations, as to say, I'm not going to give you fruit tantrum. She does do, which is a good message to portraying who is struggling in that moment. So, like when I was working at a treatment center, we had to restrain these boys and hold them to the ground and all this kind of stuff. And we have a rule: you do not engage with them at all, emotionally or vocally, when you are restraining them or they are in a place of high emotion, because we don't want them to associate bonding with being restrained,
That makes sense.
right? And basically, she said, "Hey, you can treat me like shit, and we're still bond."
Instead of establishing that she needs to be respected too.
Yeah. So I set this boundary down. You tantrum. I left. If you want me to come back and coming with pickle sandwiches, you gotta respect me. I respect. You. That's the message that should have. But other than that, it was so accurate. Like I said, the boys writing for the therapist was almost in that.
Oh, cool. I missed that
Now,
aspect and I can see where you're coming from.
I think you would
But I
only
thought it
see
was
that if you had worked
great.
or been a part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
I
That's why I
think
was
that
interested in your
experience
point of view.
only time uh, as a greater show. When Conlon brought this up last week as a shared topic pitch, I looked at the trailer. And my first comment was, "This kid is a terrible." I was dead. He's a, he's like one of the worst players. Bad.
He's not very good. I'll admit it.
His best
Either of
scene
them
is that
good.
therapist scene. Like, I I feel like it was more the writing than if that makes any sense. What he's saying is very effective. The portrayal of it, great. But I don't think that this movie or the show hinged on because the trailer made it seem like it was about him. I was very skeptical, but it's not really about him. It's more about the effect on the community and other people that his actions have. So we talked about the father. Am I a parent? Should I have done more? And the mothers. I think the stand-up performance. There's like probably could have, but that doesn't
Yeah,
make bad
it's amazing.
parents. Holy crap! Um, every episode is one continuous shot. I don't know if you noticed that or not.
I did.
I was blown away by that. I was like, they are telling an effective thing with multiple characters at multiple places and at different points in time without cutting a single time.
Astounding.
Wow, great, love it. That's amazing. Uh, this show I think is really really great. I
Me
think it
too.
should have been 5 episodes, 4 episodes, because I think the show would have gone for me like a 7.5 out of 10, like a 5 or a 9 out of 10. If the fifth episode was the trial, and you had all of these characters separated for 4 episodes, all in the same place at the same time, and basically had prosecutor portraying to a jury what this did. Get to see the pain of parents actually seeing missing all of it that actually is. You have the prosecutor being like, she was stabbed 7 times, and telling the video of the child. She gets hit 7 times by this kid, and he admitted to having the knife and XYZ whatever. And in the end, basically say, show prosecutor the defender making a deal. They're like, okay, have him plead guilty, and we'll have somebody on this as a minor. 50 years, right? I think one more episode where you kind of group everybody up, and the character Jade, the best friend of the girl, having her be there in the courtroom with this
That would have been
kid,
cool because
right?
you
Like,
kind of just left off with the friend character. She just kind of gets left off in the story. You don't really get any kind of conclusion with her at all.
and like at the school episode, like she started hitting the murderer's friend and saying,
Yeah,
"Murderer, how you killed her?" I was sitting there like, the cop is right there. He's gonna question her, and he's gonna be like, "Why did you think he had something to do?" But he didn't. I was like, "What? That happened right in front of you. What is wrong with you?" You know?
those little things were why the first two episodes weren't as good to me, and why I really loved the last two episodes.
Uh, but having the, like I said, more focused on like than the actual kid, um, was a really great choice. I love everything to do with the parents, the sisters,
Me too.
and the last two episodes were great. One, like I said, one more episode, his trial would have been made it even because these writers clearly can. And there's a few issues, yeah. The Jade character being left off, other friend being ignored because I don't like to have both the friends there. He should have just had the one friend to begin with, I think. But getting them all in the room together, having the trial, having everything laid out, and finally having him admit his guilt on screen better rather than just phone call at the end.
I agree with that completely. That would have been a better show overall, because the first 2 episodes do have a few of those little things that bring it down some to me. Um, and that would have completed and kind of made the show feel more whole, which would have been a better overall experience. 100%.
But like I said,
100%.
I still really enjoy this show.
But I did too, and I literally enjoyed the last 2 episodes so much that I would rewatch just those 2 episodes, and probably will. I will rewatch those 2 episodes.
I'll
Just
rewatch
seeing
them.
the father's pain and how well that's portrayed was I literally turned off the episode and just kinda sat with it for a little bit, which I don't do a whole lot, but I just sat there and thought about what I just watched because it was pretty powerful to me.
It was so the writing great generally in the show is like I said, the filmography each episode shot cool. Um, and like it is more prominent first episodes. Last episode, so like episode 4 is just them and their
Episode 3 is the therapist, episode's 4
whatever
the
one it is.
parents. Anyway, yeah.
So that one is less impressive. Like in the first episode where they're following the cop into the house, and then they cut to following the son in prison, cut to following the defender, cut to following parents, following the cop again, following. Like I was sitting there like, this is so cool. It is so smooth. It is so good. The
Smooth it.
director
You don't even realize it's
deserves
happening.
awards for how amazing it was to do this in one shot. I'm sure that there were multiple takes that they edited together, because I doubt every actor was perfect through the entire episode every time. But dang, that is so impressive. It is so smooth. Transitions are always great. Honestly, director, you deserve an award for how well this. Writers, you deserve an award for how great. Father, you should be nominated. Mother, you should be nominated. Uh, the sets were all really well done. I love the two relationship together. I love the way they have interact with the family and stuff. It was all just really, really good. I genuinely really like it. So if you're more down on those first 2 episodes, I was on a scale of one to 10.
I like the last 2 episodes so much that I'm gonna give it an 8.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was debating some. I just think the main kid is so bad. That was
That's fair. I thought he did I thought he did a passable job in the therapist episode. To me, it was passable. The earlier episodes were worse. Like the first episode, I was like, "Oh crap, Josh is completely right. This kid sucks." Like this is really really rough. The therapist episode I thought was passable enough that it didn't really detract from the episode for me. Where in the
I
first
agree.
episode he detracted because of his negative bad acting.
Like, you don't even have to trust my work. Like, buddy, just look up the trailer.
Yeah, the first episode's real rough. It's
Yeah,
rough.
but
But
his voice acting is still in the phone call. I
yeah,
think that's what over the line is like. The father has such a genuine, great performance, hinging on the words of this terrible thing where the kid isn't even on.
yep,
It's not even on screen. It's a phone call, and I still
and
feel
it's
like his performance on
bad.
terrible. Um, that's the line. I think it's just
Which
7.
like that is how much I liked the last 2 episodes of the show. because I think that that is a completely fair criticism. And I've never given a show with terrible acting that high of a score, I think ever. Where it's just like, that was
I don't know if
terrible.
the Harry Potter's is an 8 out of 10 or higher.
None of them are.
I hate Harry Potter. And I still do.
No, I don't give it an 8. 8 I want to rewatch all the time. I don't ever have that with Harry Potter. I watch it because other people want to. Even I don't hate any of them. I don't hate any of them.
What about Little Rascal? Gotta give Little Rascal.
Um, I don't because I watched it later in life.
It's
I
still
watched
so
it for the first
charming.
time.
It's still so cute.
For me, it's like a 7. Yeah, that's what I would give Little Rascals, like a
What's the
7.
baseball one?
Uh, Sandlot.
Sandlot. Gotta give
Sandlot
Sandlot an 8 out of 10.
could get an 8 out of 10. Sandlot gets an 8 out of 10. That's fair. Sandlot
Okay.
gets an 8 out of 10.
Bad acting. 8 out of 10. Back to
There
the
you go.
Future
That's one.
has bad acting. I think that one also.
Which one? Oh, I don't think Back to the Future has any acting that's just like terrible. There's nothing in it
The
that's like
first one doesn't. I think
that just takes
the
it
third one.
completely down.
I think the third one. Third one's where they go future.
The third one is the one where they go to the Western times.
Yeah. Bad acting. But I still love that.
Okay, I love that one too, but I don't think there's anything that's like atrocious in it. There's stuff that's just like, eh. But there's nothing like that was terrible.
Karate Kid has lots of bad performances. I love all three.
Karate Kid does have that's a good one. That's a good one because they're even like Ralph Macchio, whatever his name is. He's really not very good in the Karate Kid. He's not a very good actor,
I
but they're
think he does
still highly
okay.
enjoyable.
I think it's all the side actors. So for me, in Karate Kid 1, the bad performances are by Johnny's friends
Okay,
and by John Kreese, his performance. So, particularly towards the end when he's doing child abuse and everybody's just standing
it's
and watching.
ridiculous.
It's like, yeah, everybody's standing and watching. This feels weird. You're like choking out this guy, a tight hold. So it's, the second one, I think Ralph Macchio is the only one who did a performance,
Oh, really?
and
I don't.
maybe the girl, but like all of the other people, I was like, they even tried
Are
to
rough.
do here.
They're
Like,
all
this is
80s
bad.
though. I do give some breaks for 80s because I feel like 80s corniness
But
is a
it's not
type of
acting.
acting.
It's not, no, because we talked about Lost Boys. I think the
Yeah,
performances are all great,
they do a good job.
but it's still 80s.
But like Arnold Schwarzenegger has he's corny and it works for him in those movies.
I'm not
But
an
in
expert
the
on
acting
Schwarzenegger.
Oscar level goodness, no. It just works for Arnold Schwarzenegger movies
But would you call him
most of the time.
bad?
What?
Would you call his performance? I don't think.
Um,
I haven't seen a lot of his. I haven't. I'm not.
no, it's
From what
corny.
I've
It's
seen, I
not
wouldn't call it
bad. It's corny.
right. But my point is
Sometimes,
Karate
sometimes.
Kid 2, 80% of the performances are bad, and yet I love them. So
Regardless.
it's different. So we're talking about 8 out of 10 with performances.
The first Karate Kid, I
there's
would
like
give an
half a
8 out of
dozen.
10. But also, I wouldn't give the other two Karate Kids 8 out of 10s. I wouldn't.
Okay, but you still have bad acting. First,
You do have bad acting in the first one. That's fair. And the first one, I would give an 8 out of 10.
I would give it 5 out of 10.
I might do that too, actually. I really like that movie a lot.
But anyway, Adolescence.
Anyway,
Back to our main.
Adolescence, I really, really liked it a lot. And it is one that I would recommend. Literally, I don't know who I wouldn't recommend this to. I think it has some important things to learn. I think it's just a good show that's worth watching. unless you have something that's going to be traumatic from watching this.
Uh, yeah, I would recommend this to somebody looking for something serious.
I think everybody has moments like that though. And yeah, I would
I
give that
agree.
caveat, but if you have something that's a little bit more serious, and this won't be a traumatic thing for you, I would watch it. I would recommend it to you.
Um, it really.
All right, guys. And with that, that's going to be our episode. We appreciate you watching. Grateful for all of you. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. See you guys.